Make a limitation of that, I think. Listen to the new album. It's fantastic. Wow.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'm going to save some of that when we get started.
Okay.
Let's go here. You guys want to cruise soon, right?
Yeah, we leave on the 10th.
Rock.
Yeah, the Monsters of Rock cruise. Those are great.
Well,
Okay.
okay. Well, we are a massive radio. We are an online music community finding ways to enjoy and support master artists who created the soundtracks to our lives. We guarantee that musicians on our platform will benefit from increased exposure, engagement, healthcare, and other benefits that we provide, fundraising, as well as growth opportunities that empower our artists to thrive. And today, we truly have somebody who wrote the soundtrack to at least my life. LA Guns is TraciiGuns.
Yeah, man.
40 odd years, right?
Yeah, it's getting there. I think I started the band in high school around 82, and it's 2025. So yeah, definitely 40 years. Nice to see you, Adam.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us. And I've listened to the record, get a new record coming out,
Hmm.
Leopard Skin, which is
Yeah.
no surprise in that title. And it's coming out, I think, April 4th.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep, yep. So I gave it a listen, and I'll tell you, it reminds me of the good old days.
Yeah.
You just don't get a lot of that. It's a modern record. Don't get me wrong. The
Yeah.
quality of it is a modern record, but it runs the gamut of. I was a big fan in the '80s of glam rock,
Yeah.
Hanoi Rocks and Motley Crue, etc.
Yeah.
There's some of that, but there's some funkier stuff as well, and the ballad, the Masquerade.
Yeah.
Yes, man, I just love that. You end at the end with that imperfect cadence. It's a
Yeah.
marvelous way to make you go.
Yeah. I think that's my favorite spot on the whole album is when that song ends. You know, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
and that I don't want to say it was a mistake, but it wasn't planned. That was
right.
just the voicing of the guitar,
Mhm.
where I was playing the chords that go under the main chords, and I
Right.
ended there, and it made that sound, and I was like, to mimic Andy Johns, it was like, ooh,
Yeah, yeah.
but
And you can't, you really you can't plan that stuff.
not that stuff. No.
Yeah, it's just so much easier to really let it flow.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, and that's the thing about this record, like you're saying, is it has a variety of, it's a diverse album, for rock and roll diversity's sake, and it's a deep record. There's a lot of stuff going on. No two songs sound alike, um, and that was really, kind of on purpose with this record because the previous four records we had, the first two were very focused and very heavy and very targeted, because we had just gotten back together. We had to we had to do something that was a definite. This is what we are. And then the third and fourth records started blending a little bit of this leopard skin feel into those records, and now we're straight at, like you say, this like very 70s influenced funk, disco, rock, glam rock, Rolling Stones, ACDC, like all those elements are, you can really hear them in this record, which is, very intentional for me because, I definitely make records that I want to listen to, so I don't, I don't ever worry about, ooh, that sounds like this or that sounds like that. When that happens to me, I'm like, yes, this sounds like this, and I get really excited.
In fact, I read that you wrote this record because you wanted it on your record collection and you didn't have
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I don't have a new James Gang record. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, right, right. So Joe ain't making anymore. So yeah.
yeah. So I get to do this and I'm excited, and everybody's had the same response as you. It's kind of little bit unexpected, but like, a breath of fresh air,
Mhm.
it's something that you can really sink your teeth into.
While remaining pretty much true to your
Yeah.
LA Gun style, which
Yeah.
is that's a great way to do it. And you even mentioned in the name of your record, Leopard Skin, you can't change your spots.
Right.
You are who you guys are.
Yeah.
I wonder could what you just said about this evolving from the other albums. I know you're the writer. That's
Yeah.
what you do. But have the other guys that now you put a couple of albums and maybe some tour under your belt, have they been able to contribute more, or in fact been some degree of,
They've been contributing. Ace and Johnny, on the previous couple records, they each have one or two songs each, and I really like to do that because the way we record is we don't ever rehearse. We don't ever, I don't write the stuff and then we go and do what we used to do. It's called pre-production, where
Mhm.
we kind of flush the songs out together as a band. Those days are gone for us. So, like for example, if Ace or Johnny, they have a song idea, they bring it over, and I'll record it right away. Like I'll just record their idea, and then we have a short conversation, and then they go away, and then I'll complete it. I'll go, okay, this is what they want, and then send it back to them, and then they're like, oh yeah, could you add this? Could you add that? And yeah, and then they come back in, and then they play it, and then they flesh out the parts, and that way it keeps it consistent, but it still is their 100%, child. You know what I mean? Like they made those songs. Like on this album, Hit and Run was written by Johnny. And
Oh, cool.
yeah, and it's so great. And I love that, when those guys bring something in, because they're not worried about making an entire record. So they can pick like the best of what they've been working on, bring that in, like Cannonball,
Mhm.
which is off. I don't either the last record or the one, I don't remember now, but that's one of Johnny's songs, and when he brought that in, it's like the most LA Guns sounding song that we've done in the past four records, or five records now, um, because that's his perspective, and having an outside perspective, um, is really helpful, when being creative. And it's just that we don't all get in the same room and argue about it and create animosity. We
Right. Right.
we're able to do those things remotely, and then I can focus and not get frustrated. Um, but yeah, both those guys are really prolific writers, and I always give them the opportunity to bring in what they have that they feel belongs. And unfortunately on this record, Ace said he was working on some stuff, but he never got it to me, and I guess the hours and months slipped away, and it didn't happen. So I'm a little sad about that, because Ace came up with a Like a Drug on the last record, and
Mhm.
that's the song from the last record that we play live. So
Yeah.
these guys are really good. They're really good at traditional first two records, LA Guns sounding stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, it's great. Tell John I love Hit and Run. That's one of my favorite songs in the record.
Oh, great!
Um,
I'll tell him for sure. That'll
yeah,
be
because
that'll be the last single, like the day the record comes out. We'll be hitting.
oh, okay. Very good. Very good. So, yeah, so there's a lot of different stylistic changes and things done like that. Thank you for explaining your process. A number of people probably first got an idea of how records are made by watching the Get Back documentaries.
Right,
That'd be right.
right.
And so that's what they thought. I'm sure people were surprised that people showed up at work every day at 9 o'clock in the
Yeah,
morning, worked until 5 and then left, like any other job,
yeah. And
So
that's what we did. That's what we did from basically '87 to, man, really until '99. We were still going and flushing the songs out of rehearsal, yelling and screaming, and getting some great stuff. And then we'd go into a big studio, and we'd all be there on time, and hangovers and all, whatever we had to do. Musicians generally, in my opinion, when it comes to the music, are really responsible.
mhm.
It's very rare when you have like a bass player or something that just doesn't show up. Like
Right.
that's so rare, because I think in a rock and roll musician's point of view, like that's the one thing that really makes them happy and they can focus on, you know. So yeah, the get back style is definitely the preferred way. You know, I'd love to, you know, have an unlimited budget but you know, that stuff's expensive now. And you know, got the guys that are really using the few studios that are left in LA, like Sunset Sound. There's a couple. United, which used to be Ocean Way. You know, they're spending the money on the records, and then they were able to write that off. You know, so.
Yeah.
But I mean, but to do, you know, to spend 6 weeks in the studio to 8 weeks in the studio these days, that's easily $100,000.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, when your profits are coming back, you know, every you know, annually, and really, you know, the honest for a band like LA Guns, you know, that return on physical sales is less than 200,000 a year. So it really doesn't make sense for us to spend that kind of money. But that's where technology comes in, and that's why we live in the future. And you know, with my personal old school education on how to record, and the same with Adam Hamilton, our studio drummer, you know, we got it. You know, we got it. And the luxury of playing in my studio in my underwear for a month is awesome. You know, it's really nice.
Yeah, thanks for the visual on that, Tracii.
You know, a cat on my shoulder.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Good. Yeah, because I was going to ask, as you mentioned technology allowing for changes, it looks to me like you really guys got active again in writing albums right around the same time pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as a significant component of all of our lives, fairly recently, I'm asking pretty much everybody I interview what lessons you may have learned trying to work in the pandemic, trying to stay sane in the pandemic, that you continue to bring forward, even though we're out of it now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good, you know, perception, because the Devil You Know, which we recorded in 2018, that was our last studio record where we went into a big studio and spent some money and did it right, or did it the old-fashioned way, I should say. And then, but by that point, I was already doing sessions remotely. Um, I've been recording in my studio since 2012. I made 2 records with a band I had, the TraciiGuns League of Gentlemen, and that was kind of my introduction to, you know, producing and engineering and doing the whole thing on my own and doing all the experimentation on those records, which was a great experience. And Greg Worth, who is Steve Vai's in-house engineer, uh, he helped me, you know, through the first record and even the second one. You know, he was my teacher. And another guy called Mitch Davis, who also writes all the lyrics with Phil now. He's a great engineer. He has a group called Orba Square that at one point, and it could still be, he writes the most licensed songs that we all hear in our daily lives on TV and stuff. And you know, it's him. So that's where I got my recording education, my hands-on recording education from those guys, you know, in 2011, 2012. And then I was able to take that. And then Adam and I, you know, we worked on a couple things with Andy Johns when Adam was playing bass in LA Guns, you know. And then of course before that I worked with Eddie Kramer and Michael James Jackson, Tom Werman, and Dwayne Barron and John Pradell and Jim Faraci. And these are guys, old school engineers, you know, like the real deal kind of thing. And I never kept my eye off what they were doing. You know, when I was in my early 20s, I'm like, what are they doing? What are they doing? Wow, what does that do? And so now, you know, that was my education. And now I get to do this, and it just makes the hobby that much greater.
Yep.
You know?
I'm sure it's both a blessing and a curse to be responsible for all of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I've become very responsible in LA Guns the last 2 or 3 years. I've been going back to when we first got back together in 2017, I became more responsible. But now, like somehow, I really give a shit about every aspect of everything. I watch everything like a hawk, and there's a lot more quality control, and I don't leave things in other people's hands. And that's why our managers love us, because you know they rarely get an SOS call from the band.
That's good to know. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
um, on that note, now the other guys, of course, probably in a similar way, have realized that both technology has gotten easier to afford and easier to use.
Mm-hmm.
Are they able to meet you halfway with some of it? Like bass player comes in, understands compression and where he has to be in the
Yeah.
mix and things like that, and works around that like a good session player would.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are really high IQ musicians. As far as recording stuff, I don't know really where they're at because I'm ready for them when they come in. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like I know what we're gonna do, and then, Johnny might have some opinion on where the bass is sitting in a track, or his parts, and then we'll go back and forth, and he can do so many things on the bass um, that are interesting. For example, let's say I write the first 8 songs and I'm recording everything on them and I send them out and I'm playing bass on those original tracks. And Johnny will come in and all of a sudden it sounds like there's a bass player on the track. Like the greatest bass player. It's like whoa, you know. So like those things are really thrilling for me, and especially the vocal process, because I don't have anything to do with the vocals. Phil goes to New York with Mitch Davis to his studio, Pull Studio, and I don't hear it till it's done.
Oh, okay.
And it's always like Hanukkah, like
Yeah.
the,
Right.
the, the 8 days, there's like one a day, kind of a
Yeah.
thing. And I think the last 5 records, I've rarely made a comment, except maybe like when they first come up with an idea, I might have a snarky comment like, that's kind of cheesy, or, something like. But other than that, man, I just let, I don't really have any input into the vocal part of it, and I just trust those two guys so much that that's another benefit. It's like I don't have to sit there, for 5 days, 8 hours a day, listening to Phil sing stuff over and over again. Not that that would be a curse, but it's definitely tedious. And any other person that's sitting in a studio with you while you're working just kind of adds. I wish that person would fucking go away. It's really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, now you have creative control. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Totally.
yep,
Totally.
yeah. It's a tough thing to give up. What I know you collaborate with a lot of other people. Is that one of our other masters artists, Michael Sweet, and you guys did a record
Yeah. Yeah.
last summer, I guess it was. I think it was
Yeah.
the Sunbomb thing.
Yeah.
Would you say that that helped you develop this kind of mindset about preserving what these guys bring in, maybe adding a little bit to it, but sort of trying to keep it their baby, as you say?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
that expands beyond LA Guns?
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up the Sunbomb records because those were done completely remotely too. It's the same band. It's me
Mhm.
and Adam throwing down the music, and then Michael and another writer wrote and recorded. And then I would
Mhm.
get vocals back and be like, wow, bingo, and these things all did happen during the pandemic, the thing. But the greatest part of it was I was in Denmark. I had just had a baby in Denmark. My wife had a baby. And then 2 weeks after he was born, there was lockdown in Denmark. I'm 5,500 miles away from here.
Yeah.
But I was prepared. We have our place there, and I had all my recording equipment there, a second set there, so I was ready to go. I did another project right away in the pandemic. The Swedish band, and I always want to call them Social Distortion, but it's not Social Distortion. It's anyways. Um, and I did that whole record on an iPad. You
Oh,
know, I had all the recording gear set up to just record on the iPad. And when I once that was done, I knew anything was possible because all you're trying to do in technical terms is getting a very clear, loud recording that's not distorting. So dimension is everything, and we're way past the the threshold point. Everything records great, and
Yes.
got to let go of a lot of old school sensibilities and just kind of go with your ears. And
Mhm.
if you trust your ears and other people like what you're doing, then you're good.
Yeah. 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 You read about recording. I can remember bragging about 60 dB signal to noise ratio. It's like
Yeah.
90, yeah, 90 and up. Yeah. So and you could tell, you hear it in the records.
Oh yeah.
And everybody I talked to, I mentioned the thing about the bass player coming into the mix. Me, I've done a couple of interviews with Billy Sheehan,
Yeah.
and he, there's a video of him on YouTube working on a bass track, and he gets the engineering of it.
Oh yeah.
Like you, he's a guy that goes in there. He's just finishing up a Mr. Big thing now, but for he was months of doing nothing, between stars.
Yeah.
And so he's doing all these other projects and saying to some of the other artists we talked to, this collaborative composing environment just seems to really be the way to do it now, as opposed to, the old days of George Martin and the Beatles days.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, there's something to be said for band chemistry,
Sure.
but in terms of, like, let's say Billy Sheehan's band, Mr. Big, they already spent the time rehearsing. They already did the, 1,500 live shows together. So for those guys to go and record with anybody, anywhere, anytime, collaborate via email or even in the same room, everybody knows the language now. You know what I mean? Everybody has the communication skills to get the point across. Um, but interesting is that when you look at the Get Back sessions, or one of my favorite recordings is all the Eagles stuff, the early Eagles.
Yes.
Um, they were really able to get that separation and clarity without things sounding too separate. You know, Very three dimensional. The bass is clear as a bell, but the guitars are clear as a bell, and the drums are clear as a bell, and the vocals are clear as a bell, and the harmonies are clear as a bell. So does it have a lot to do with EQing? Yes and no. It also has a lot to do with just how you're recording it, where the mic is the musician conscious of where their voice is sitting in that harmony mix? Is the bass player conscious of their sound against the guitars and the drums? All those things are taken into account, you know. Um, that's why, a lot of times, like when I was younger, go in with my 4-track tape machine, I record my band, and we didn't know shit about shit. We just put mics on everything, and and it always kind of sounded like this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And there's an old trick that I learned in 2011 or 12 from Greg Worth, was that in a final mix or on your main output, when you have all these tracks together, 300 hertz, about 300 hertz, tends to bubble up together from the mix of the instruments. So just by reversing that, and so you can see on a scope now, because we have digital technology,
Right. Yep.
you can see the waveform, and you just reverse that 300 hertz bubble and bring it out. And all of a sudden, it's like it goes from horrible demo to nearly record quality just by doing that.
Yep.
There's little technical things with recording, that are important.
Yep. 300 hertz and 2.6K as well. Another one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a good bump for guitars, though. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I can hear the guitar perfectly now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, let's just switch from recording now to live. Okay.
Okay.
You're a live, a legendary live band. You're coming to the little bar near my house, May 1st.
Oh, nice.
You're gonna be able to walk there and probably crawl home.
I love it.
But it's a little tiny place, standing room only, and
Okay, great.
a great little entertainment there. It's a great place called Tally Ho. What your crowd, and I'm asking you this because in the video, the old guy who won the ticket,
Yeah.
golden ticket, I'm
Yeah.
thinking, man, is that representative of their fans? Because as I'm one, and I got 5 years on you,
Yeah.
so I have to wonder, are you finding young people as well as old people in a mix in your crowd?
Yeah,
Matching it up with you?
it for a while there, like, before I took a break from the band, I want to say around 2002, um, the crowd was all middle aged. It was all people in their 40s, very few teenagers, and that was it. And to be honest, the crowd wasn't very big. We were playing like 300 seaters, stuff like that, and we still do sometimes, like your place, it's small.
Mhm.
Um, but ever since we got back together, um, not only do we have guys, in their mid 50s through mid 70s, but also their wives, their mistresses, their children, their mistresses' children. And then you have a new group of, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year olds that we've really noticed since after the pandemic. So I have a feeling that, the records we made during the pandemic and right when it was over, those reached a lot of young adults. Um, so now the crowd is very mixed up, and a much bigger crowd. And depending on the area we play, we play to 500 people, then we play to 1,500 people. It just depends on the area. But yeah, but I really do can say that the crowd size getting bigger is because more families come, and then there's some younger people now coming, in full force, dressed up too, like they ain't messing around.
Cool. Yeah.
They're like, hey man, I look like Nikki Sixx. It's like, yes, you
Yeah.
do. You know,
They got the hair and the
yeah, they got the whole thing going on, and
yeah.
they're the ones in the front.
Right,
You
of
know?
course. Yeah. They want to be
So
seen. Yeah.
so it's like it's amazing for us.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 59 and Phil's 68.
Mhm.
So getting that kind of energy right off the bat every night is a really good feeling, and it's really good kindling to get the shows going. But song one, they're like and we're like and it's that connection right away. So yeah.
That's good to hear. And I'm not surprised at that. You're on here because Masters Radio only works with artists that were first popular at least 20 years ago or more.
Right. Okay.
So, for example, we play no Taylor Swift.
Right.
Um, but the point I'm making is that most of the musicians I talk to are of an age kind of like ours, maybe a little
Right.
younger, not much, and several of them are a lot older.
Yeah.
Read All Night, this guy in 85
Yeah.
kicked in.
But the
And
music keeps
so
them young. I'm sure you
that's
noticed
exactly
that.
what they said. You took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what they say. Getting out there on that stage is what keeps them young, and
Yeah.
God bless them to be able to do it. So that's good to
Yeah.
know. So you're getting some more than the Pepto Bismol crowd.
Yeah. I mean, we're all the Pepto Bismol crowd, but I think that the proof is really in the pudding. I follow all my old heroes on social media, and they're all active, and they all use their own voice and type what they're doing. And the guys that are 75 to 90 that are still active, they look great and they sound great. So there's just a lot to be said for, I guess it's the kind of bubble musically that we live in, that we're still like, I'm still in the hair metal scene, for example. Like if that's in there, well, you kind of never move away from it, and you go until your body just says, hey, I'm done, and you're dead and it's over.
Right,
Yeah.
right. No, I get it completely. And like this record is so diverse within a hard rock context.
Yeah.
And I think from the most recent albums, the post-pandemic albums, you really, I think, showed a younger generation that there's rock and roll bands
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
because
I
a
mean,
lot of them went away. Yeah.
that's our job, because we really don't have any competition from our genre. We don't. We're not competing for airspace. Our stuff gets played heavily when it comes out on all the hair metal, 80s metal, and some classic rock stations, right? And there's a lot of bands out there still playing live, but they're not making new music. And if they are, it's kind of not what we're doing. No, let me just put it that way. Even some of the big bands, I hear that what they're putting out, and I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ, you couldn't do better than that. It's really weird with me. But the great thing about LA Guns and our musicians is we're hungry. We always feel like we have something to prove to ourselves. You know what I mean? Have we made the definitive record? Have we made the definitive record? And if that's the carrot, we're never going to catch it. So we're just going to keep writing and recording and playing live. And like I said, then Cupid will come and go, you're done, boom, and then it's over.
Yep. Well, apart from obviously your incredible curiosity and energy and drive in this, what would you tell somebody, an aspiring musician, maybe one of those 20-somethings come to your show, and they want to do that? They want to be you when they grow up. What sort of things you say to them to help them?
Number one is the only reason you play music or create any kind of art is because you love it. Like it's in your soul, and it is the single most important thing in your life. Not for an ego stroke. It should be self-satisfying doing the music. Your image should be self-satisfying. It should not be designed to make somebody else look. It should be designed that when you look in the mirror with your instrument on, you're like, that's me. That's what I'm projecting. That's what's on the inside of me, and I'm showing it. Because that's the greatest thing about rock and roll is it allows you to be a humble person, hopefully, off stage, allows you to be in your shell, or because so many musicians are, and then you get to explode on stage. You get to open up and reveal what's really going on in your mind and in your soul and in your heart. So just like any young musicians, if they like, nobody takes advice, trust me. Like, I could give all the advice in the world, nobody takes advice. But if there's like one person out there and they're thinking, well, this is what I'm going to do, just do it. You know what I mean? Because the stardust is going to dictate where you go anyways. So you might as well do what you love to do, and I'm a dad, I got two boys, and they're going to do what they want to do, and my 16-year-old, he never asks me for advice. He just gets straight A's, and he's going to college, and and it's because it's a complete rebellion against what I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that's what 16-year-olds do. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So like, I really think that if you're a musician and that's your thing, and you're a parent, love your kids. Don't ever rub it in their face what you do, because what a musician does is completely selfish. I mean, let's be honest. It's constant self-soothing. It's constant creative, ADHD energy, and don't wish that on anybody. It's like, because you'll know, like my little guy, my 5-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
he's got that energy. So we're gonna see where he ends up, but don't be yourself, and that's the same in any business. That's the same in any group or relationship. It's just try to be yourself. Don't walk in with a mask on, because eventually people get to know who you are. You know what I mean? So don't be one guy for a year and then get comfortable and then like be a different guy, because then people are just not going to like you.
And you can't really develop your craft. I always tell people, never mind your passion, follow your craft.
Yeah.
Some days it's going to suck.
That's right.
But
a lot of days.
And a lot of days it might suck. Yeah. And so, but you'll eventually get to the point where you are, for example. And that's fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about how I always like, there's another question I like to ask, but first, one of the things that, some little sidebar here, I really want that lucky motherfucker bar sign. How do I get that?
That's at Maui Sugar Mill in Tarzana out here. That's a permanent fixture in the bar, and that's the title of our next song, of our next single and video. And I just saw the new video for that. It comes out, I think, March 6th. Mm-hmm. It's the most fun, greatest LA Guns video we've ever done.
That's fantastic, because I love the last one. Pepto-Bismol and all.
Yeah, it's just part 2, so like starts there, then we leave the bar with Mark, the actor, and we hit the town. and it's fun.
That's cool. I can't wait for that. So that's fantastic. All right. So the last question I'll ask you is, you got a magic wand, Tracii. What can you do to make the music business better? Because that's what we want to do here at Massive Radio is help you guys do that.
You know, there's only one thing. Well, there's two things I don't like about the music business. Number one is the music business. It's, you know, and this goes across the board from, recording companies to the bigger music manufacturers. They're all owned by huge capital investment firms. So that means the employees in the stores, the musicians recording the albums, everything last to get paid. And when they get paid, it's the smallest amount of money. I don't know if it'll ever change. It changes when you're 47 if you've been doing it since you're 22, because all of a sudden you own your masters and you do everything yourself and you keep all the money, excluding that part of the business. Or like we do, we partner up with labels and they give us an advance, but it's not on this minuscule percentage payback thing. Um, that's the one thing I hate. The other thing that I hate is the deception of the internet, where people are able to buy a perception, and that perception might be 5 million followers and 6,000 likes per post to somebody that is average at best, but they're good at the internet. You know, well, that means they're good at marketing. It doesn't mean that they're good at music. And, you know, every great artist, even Taylor Swift, had to go play, had to go do it, had to build an audience organically. And then if you're lucky enough to get a song that goes on the radio, well, bam, there you are, right? Because people, they hear something enough times, they're going to like it, and that's human nature, and that's great. I love that about the music business is that, that is the vehicle, if you can get on the radio, if you can get on great tours and stuff like that. But the ability to market your very mediocre craft really takes up a lot of space and really pushes people with really true creative talents and maybe unique ideas that none of us have ever heard before, and takes them out of the spotlight to put, whatever the fuck they're doing in the spotlight. And so, but that's just the way it is. And it's not going to change. It's just going to get worse. But those are the things that I would change.
Yeah. Well, the second point, I mean, the reason we founded Master Radio was because there were so many new artists, new music coming from old artists.
Right.
The founder was inspired by Tom Petty and said at a show that he can get my new album for free with your ticket stub.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't able to sell it anywhere, and people didn't know. I had no idea this until I started working for Master Radio. The Sweet, remember the Sweet in the '70s?
Yeah.
They're still making music.
Oh, I didn't even know. I know that they're doing well.
Yeah. 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 So it's there's so many people around. Stray Cats did a record not too long ago, and after taking some time off for health reasons, but
yeah,
they're going to do a tour. Yeah. So it's these guys. And the reason I say that is because they did the woodshedding. They put in the time. They wouldn't have had to hit 20 years or more if they hadn't.
That's right.
So that's what we really want to do is get that.
Yeah, I mean, especially the Stray Cats. You know what I mean? Because it was they were taking an older idea and expanding on it and really taking the best elements of rock and roll and rockabilly. A lot of people they're marketed as a rockabilly group, but they're a rock and roll group. You know what I mean? There's way more intent in the Stray Cats music than just 1955. You know what I mean? And so not only did they woodshed their influences, but they really brought something new. And at the time, there was nothing else like it. That's right. And so like that takes three guys with the same idea headed in the same direction. And that's why they're still around today, even though, like you said, Brian's having a thing. But to me, bands like that, the Pretenders and other stuff like that, they never went away to me. I mean, maybe, they're not on the radio with their new album and selling out stadiums, but they're certainly doing amazing stuff.
Yeah, they're all out there working. It's just those
Yeah.
radio stations start playing. They're playing the deep catalog and nothing but.
Yeah.
So that's what we're fixing to change. Well, we're gonna take on that part of your challenge there. See if we will get more artists paid more to do
Yeah.
better work and more fans engaged with artists. That's sort of our mission. See
I love it.
you waving that magic wand there. Folk we've been speaking with, TraciiGuns of LA Guns. New record is called Leopard Skin, comes out April 4th. A tour like immediately, like shortly, like a few days you're starting, right? Next week.
Yeah. The new video comes out on the 6th, and we leave for the Monsters of Rock cruise. We fly out the night of the 9th, and then we have about a month off after the cruise, and then we get on the road and we go. And the album comes out April 4th, and I think we hit the road around April 17th or 18th, something like that.
All right, very good. Well, I look forward to seeing you at Tally Ho. I'm going to see if I can get your attention and get some pictures after the show if I can.
No
And then we are just so anxious to see new videos because that's a whole art in and of itself. The music's fantastic, folks. Get the record when you can, and be sure to look up where you can find LA Guns when they come around in this coming summer, and go see them because there are rock and roll bands like that.
No, there aren't. We're definitely that band.
You are indeed. Thank you so much, Tracii, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, I'm on to my next one now.